A commuter alert about a possible strike involving New Jersey, the nation's third largest transit system. Talks resumed this morning between New Jersey Transit and its rail engineers union.
Now we're getting down to the wire, so they're trying to reach an agreement to avert a walkout by the union that would begin at midnight. A strike means a slam on the brakes for all of New Jersey Transit commuter trains on heavily used routes between New York City and Penn Station and the other side of the Hudson in northern New Jersey and really all of New Jersey, because you connect to Jersey Transit at some point, even if you're coming from central New Jersey.
Absolutely. A rail strike would impact some 350,000 commuters who use NJ Transit. So joining us now to talk about this is Mike Smart, professor of transportation planning at Rutgers University. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor Mike Smart. We appreciate it. I want to get right into this. If this strike does happen, how big of a disruption will this be? We said 350,000 commuters, but I would imagine there's going to be residual impacts on the other stations as well, like, PATH trains and ferries.
Yeah, that's right. So 350,000 people will have to find another way of getting into the city. Some number of them will be able to work from home. That number is smaller than most people think, because there are a lot of folks who simply need to be at their workplace to do their actual job. And for those folks who need to get into the city, it's going to be a lot of switching to bus routes, to PATH. When we looked at what people did during the 1983 strike, there were a lot of very creative solutions. So people taking Amtrak, driving to Staten Island and taking the ferry, lots of different things.
Yeah. I don't even remember that. That's even before my time, so it's good that you brought that up. All right, New Jersey Transit says they have backup plans, Mike. And so when we look at them and we put them out there for people and we show them, some of them are expensive. They go from, Heather's pointed out, from $8 to $48. But how realistic is it that they can handle the volume with these ideas?
Well, even New Jersey Transit will admit that they cannot handle all of the volume. So they're estimating they can accommodate about 20% of the people who are going to be affected by the strike. I think that's probably roughly accurate. So they're hoping that 80% of those 350,000 people will find a way to get into the city that doesn't involve using their services. So switching to PATH, driving in, whatever it might be.
Okay, so let's talk about the main sticking point, right? This centers around money, and obviously the union saying that they are grossly underpaid, especially when you compare it to the rest of the country. And then on the other side, New Jersey Transit is saying that's actually not true. So first off, what do you think about that argument? And is this kind of disagreement common?
So first of all, it's very common. Yeah, this is sort of what we see at all transit agencies when a contract is up. I think the comparison to other railroads in the New York metropolitan area is totally legitimate. There's competition for workers, of course. But even if you just look at, the last raise that the workers got was in 2019, and it's been a period of very high inflation. So they've lost, in terms of real wages, they've lost about 20% of their purchasing power, these workers. So they're definitely less well off today than they were at the culmination of the last contract.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I just did a simple Google search trying to find out how much the MTA makes and Amtrak in New Jersey, and it does seem pretty comparable. I'm looking, 95,000 to 100,000 for MTA, Amtrak in New Jersey, some 90,000. In certain parts of New York, some 120,000. Is this fair, what they're asking for? Because this isn't just a New Jersey Transit issue. Wages all over the country have been stagnant and going in the wrong direction.
I'll leave that up for the union and for the management and for your viewers to decide what's a fair wage. I do think it can't be ignored that these workers have lost about 20% of their purchasing power, though, so they can afford just less in their daily lives today than they could, at the end of the last contract, and that's just a fact.
Mike, this is your expertise. You're a professor. You study this whole thing. You've seen this happen not only here but in other places. So I'm going to throw you a little curve. What do you think the likelihood is of us getting an agreement just before this midnight deadline? And are people at home sitting there going, that's what's going to happen. I don't have to worry about it. Is it possible? Is it likely? Where does it fit on that scale?
I think this has been a more contentious conflict than I've seen in other places. So I would put it I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I probably wouldn't bet too much on this being resolved by midnight tonight. So I don't know, 50-50, something like
Ooh,
that.
Got
first
you.
time since the 1980s. So, I mean, that would be big if it does end up happening, and you know we're going to be all over it. Thank you so much, Professor Mike Smart from Rutgers University. We appreciate it.
We appreciate
pleasure.
you.